Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fit for Life's first segment of Your Health Matters. Today, we will be talking about obesity. Is it an actual disease or is it a choice? So today we have a panel of guests with us today. To my right, your left, we have Dr. Lindsay Van Dyke. We have Lisa Dunlap, and we have Dr. Aaliyah Dixon. We're going to start with my right, and Dr. Lindsay Van Dyke, she's going to introduce herself, tell you guys where she's from and what her practice is. Dr. Van Dyke.
Well, thank you very much, Shay, for the opportunity to participate in this webcast this evening. I think you're doing very important work, and it deserves to be supported and recognized, because we're going to talk about a topic that is pervasive in the United States, across culture, across economic strata, across heritage, across geographic locations. And we can't talk enough about its impact on our wellness and our life expectancy and the cost of medical care in the United States. I'm Dr. Lindsay Van Dyke. I'm a board certified endocrinologist as well as in internal medicine. I am the medical director for the Advanced Institute for Diabetes and Endocrinology outside of Dallas, Fort Worth. And comprehensive weight management is a growing portion of our practice, and it very easily dovetails into all of the other things that endocrinology manages, mostly diabetes, adrenal disorders, PCOS, and even osteoporosis and lipids. So I look for opportunities to partner with other practitioners across the country who will be practicing evidence-based interventions.
Absolutely. All right, Dr. Dixon, if you don't mind introducing yourself, ma'am.
Hi, yes, good evening. My name is Aaliyah Dixon. Thank you all for having me on the podcast. It is an honor because I do hold very dear to my heart in regards to obesity. As I shared with Shay, I'm from a very rural area where they have lack of resources and support. I am an acute care nurse practitioner, so mostly my career has been built around the hospital. I work in the ICUs. So, like Lisa was sharing before, unfortunately, obesity is just not a topic to discuss, unfortunately. So I see the side of the putting it over to the side, not really addressing the issue with obesity, not really hearing the patient out, not listening to the patient. I work in a Band-Aid, more acute care setting. So it's just a Band-Aid covered over it. And then you go on about your merry way. And so in 2019, I decided to get my naturopathic certificate. And that let me see a whole different approach to medicine. So now I approach medicine in a holistic approach. I started a healthcare services called Ruby's Healthcare Services in 2019 after I received my naturopathic medicine certificate. And there it was just a whole different approach to medicine. And it was amazing because I had time to really spend to my patients and listen. And that is one of the things to get across from getting the barriers out of the way is listening. So listening is so important, learning the barriers of a patient and treating a patient individually. holistic mind, body, and soul is so important. So thank you all for having me.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Dixon. And we also have um, a person from the public, Lisa Dunlap. Lisa Dunlap has agreed to speak for herself as well. For the public, may not be speaking for all, okay, but she definitely has a mouth, okay. So I think she may be speaking for all, okay. So Lisa, if you don't mind introducing yourself as well, please.
Thank you, Shay. Hi, my name is Lisa Dunlap. And as a unhealthy weight, quote, obese person, I speak from the experience of interacting with the healthcare profession and dealing with medical issues around obesity. Um, I am hypertensive. I'm type 2 diabetic. So I have some of the comorbidities that go along with obesity that don't know for sure if they came from being hereditary. So it's a perspective, and thank you for inviting me. I look forward to the discussion and giving the point of view that a lot of people I'm sure that I've talked to have when it comes to being obese and how we deal with all of the factors that come with it.
Thank you so much for your introduction. And I pretty much forgot to introduce myself. I'm thinking everyone knows me. Well, those that do not know me, my name is Shay Brown Brown. I am a family nurse practitioner. I am a plant-based nutritionist. I am a personal trainer and a health coach. Those that do know me, I am the poster child for better health. At the beautiful age of 51 years old, I believe in promoting better quality of life. Obesity has been um, something that I hold very dear to my heart. Not obese people, but the disease in itself, obesity. We have had many studies that show that obesity have caused so many different types of illnesses and diseases. And if we can just try to cut it off at the head just a little bit, not a lot, but maybe a little bit, maybe we can cut back on some of the readmissions to the hospitals, the doctor visits, the patient first, the colds, the pneumonias. All these things are pretty much caused by what we call a faulty diet. So we are going to talk a lot about obesity today. So we are asking that you do post your questions. We already have a question posted right now. Someone asked the question, what is the definition of obesity? Anyone on our panel want to take on that definition? Everyone knows that I can talk. So either one of you, Dr. Van Dyke or Dr. Dixon, did you want to take that on? Or better yet, Lisa, do you want to try and do the definition of obesity first? What do you consider it to be? We want to hear from the public first.
So from the and being obese, obese is being a certain it goes along with a BMI, a body mass index, and it's calculated by weight and height. So when you fall out of a certain weight category for your height, you go into what is considered unhealthy weight. And when you get above 30, 30, a body mass index of 30, you're now considered obese. Numbers go up. It goes up with your weight and a lot of times with the comorbidities that come with it. So as you move further up the scale, that number, that body mass index goes up. From a personal perspective, obese means that I'm quote unquote a fat girl.
That's what I was looking for. Yes,
I'm
sir.
a fat girl. I'm a girl that is super curvy, that's busty, that's hippie, that's thick in the waist, big legs, big arms, the fat girl in the room. So, from the personal perspective, that's what obese means to me. That I'm no longer a cute 12, 14, that now I'm in a 14 women, 16W. The weight category changes, the size category changes.
And that's basically what we were looking for. When we hear that word obesity, that is a very sensitive word to say to someone. That's worse than saying the F word, fat. Okay. But that is a word that we as medical professionals, that's a word we use. I wish there was another word that we can use. I mean, the patient first language that we are taught to use from the obesity classes that I have taken it is called an unhealthy weight. That sounds better. All right, that sounds a lot better to say than just someone just being obese. But I mean, when you say someone is diabetic, someone is hypertensive, I mean, it is what it is. So to use that word, it is insensitive, but we have to be able to say the word, address the word, and figure out a way to get around it. Okay. So, Dr. Dixon, what is your definition of obesity?
Well, from the hospital standpoint, in medical terms, obesity is with the patient with the BMI that is over 30, over 30. We also have another word that patients really do not like in the hospital, and it's called morbid obesity, which is totally different. That is when the patient that's when the fear sits in, because the word morbid means fatal. And so once a patient hears that, sometimes that really scared them. So we are told to put that in our progress notes, but do not share that word with the patient. What we speak about is whatever is the disease that is surrounding the obesity. So we are focused strictly on the disease processes.
And I'll add to that with recent legislature in the last couple of years, patients are entitled to access to their own medical records and can see unfettered what is documented. And so I think it's, again, in the spirit of being inclusive and sensitive to an individual's psychological needs, that you should be clear about what definition of obesity is. And like you said, face it head on in order to manage it. But the nomenclature of morbid obesity or super morbid obesity, which has been used certainly during my training years, has been left behind in favor of kind of more specific nomenclature. So there are classes of obesity that are defined by differences in BMIs. So class 1 obesity is that BMI 30 to 34.9. Class 2 is 35 to 39.9. And class 3 is 40 and up. And I am going to place a bet that additional class distinctions are probably coming, because it is, I wish I didn't have to say, that it is not infrequent that I have patients whose BMIs are 45, 55, 60, and my all-time record BMI was 89. And there's no way to classify them except class 3.
Right. But there was something that you also mentioned as well, Dr. Van Dyke, about waist circumference. Do you want to touch on that? I thought that was very interesting, and I think that the public need to hear about that as well. It's not so much about the BMI, because that can be a little deceiving.
Yeah.
Me, everybody know that I'm the poster child, but my BMI is greater than 24.9. It's actually 25.
BMI is notoriously imperfect as a marker of obesity. It really doesn't work well in people who are very tall, people who are very short, certainly people who are pregnant, or people who are mesomorphs, they're bodybuilders, they're muscular and stocky. And if we just kind of look at our measurement of BMI and say, oh, that BMI is 35.5, and you don't look at the patient, you don't see that they're built for a bodybuilding competition and their waist circumference is actually 32, then you would erroneously flag them as class 2 obesity. and it's not appropriate. So there are other metrics, the body fat percentage is very important. 33% and up in women is high risk. The waist circumference is another extension of that. And women can markedly improve cardiometabolic risk if that waist circumference is less than 35. And guys can improve their cardiometabolic risk when their circumference is less than 40. Also important is the neck circumference, because the size of your neck is another indicator for your risk of obstructive sleep apnea, which, if not managed, has its own significant and can be severe cardiovascular risk.
And Dr. Van Dyke, being that you brought that up, because I have mentioned that to a few of my clients, what is the normal measurement for a woman's neck and the normal measurement for a man's neck? Just for them, in case they just happen to have a measuring tape.
Yeah, 15 and 16 inches respectively.
Okay. All right, 15 women, 16 for the men.
Yeah, right. I don't know why we're measuring in inches all of a sudden, but it's the one thing we're measuring in inches.
All right, so that's one thing that I do bring about with a lot of my patients as well. I mean, when we're in the office and we're screening patients, that's one thing that I screen for as well. Mm-hmm. I ask them, do you snore? Mm-hmm. All right, that's very, very important. Well, I don't know. Well, how about your significant other? Have they ever told you that you snore? Okay, so you definitely want to make sure you want to nudge them, honey. Do I snore? Well, pay attention tonight, okay, if I sleep before you. These are things that will be able to help us when we're doing our assessments with you, okay, because we do understand that, again, the word obesity is sensitive, but it's one that we're going to have to hit head on. Because as healthcare professionals, we're here to help, okay? Mm-hmm. But we cannot help unless you guys actually talk to us and tell us exactly what is going on, because we definitely need to know everything detail for detail. All right, so thank you, Lavesta, for that question. What is the definition of obesity? That was an excellent question. So let's talk about Cynthia. Sarah, she posted single people should use a sleep recorder. Yeah, that'll work too.
Yeah.
That is a great idea. So if you think that you may snore, I mean, we have these smartphones. They are very smart. Plug it up and just put the recorder on and just see if you do snore. I mean, what is it going to cost you? A battery? All right. It's worth it.
And if you have your Fitbit or your Apple Watch, those things are tracking every little metric about you all day, every day, and they will spit out a report that describes your oxygen variability through the night. And that, if it's telling you have high variability, then that deserves to be worked up and managed if appropriate. Absolutely.
So we have another question from our viewer. And then I want to ask another question for Lisa, and then we're going to take it back to the professionals, but definitely want to get Lisa's view on things first. We want to hear from the public. LaWanda Ewing asks, what is the best approach at 50 to lose weight when you're 50? Well, anyone want to address that one?
I would say intermittent fasting.
Oh, I love that one too.
Intermittent fasting works better especially for women.
What do you love so much about intermittent fasting?
Well, it helps the body to just take a break. I think with the world that we are living in now, we never take a break. So a lot of people do intermittent fasting with the windows of 18 hours and 6. So they would eat 6 hours and they would fill their pot, as I call it, their dinner plates or lunch plates or whatever, with the foods that they want to eat within a certain amount of hours. But the only thing with intermittent fasting that people are not being educated properly on is the foods that we are choosing during the intermittent fasting, especially with women that are premenopausal or menopausal. Diet and exercise works totally different. That's why I approach my patients holistically, because everyone is an individual. So what works for a 30-year-old with what people call dieting, which I hate that word too. I always say lifestyle changes,
Absolutely.
will not work for a woman that maybe is 55 that's going through menopause. So for women that is over 50, I always usually recommend intermittent fasting because that's where I see the results at. The results are better for women that are over 50 that are premenopausal, menopausal. Also adding in the extra protein to help with lean muscle, lose the fat and gain the muscle. So that's one of the things I like and I advise my patients with that are over 50.
So, with you, Dr. Van Dyke, you are an endocrinologist and you mostly see patients that have hormone issues. So, intermittent fasting might not be the best approach for some of your patients that are over 50. What would be some of your recommendations?
You know, really what she said at the end was the most valuable part, and that was feeding the muscle and maintaining the muscle, because age is our number one risk factor for everything, whether that is skin laxity or diabetes or heart disease or gaining weight. And when women go through menopause, we know that just weight maintenance can become very much a full-time job, let alone weight loss. And there are other serious cardiometabolic risks that happen with the onset of menopause. But the main one to talk about with age is the phenomenon of sarcopenia, which is wasting and decrease in the number of muscle fibers. And that's just part of an aging process. It does not mean that you're doomed to persistently lose muscle and gain weight, but it does mean that your approaches to build and maintain your lean mass need to be more deliberate, more disciplined, and probably more aggressive with ongoing age. And as long as you are feeding and maintaining lean tissue, you are maintaining or improving your insulin sensitivity and the basal metabolic rate, which is what does it cost to run your body just sitting there. Lean mass is incredibly expensive and fat is not.
Absolutely. So, when it comes to the eating habits of the patients, when we talk about muscle mass, lean muscle, stuff like that, they're thinking this is all in the gym. But we all know my motto: you cannot outrun a bad diet.
Right.
So I guess the question that I'm asking, I mean, is this the time that we refer them to a dietitian, a nutritionist? Um, what are some suggestions there?
In our clinic, we do utilize dietitians, but we do it a little bit later in the weight loss process. As someone is getting ready to kind of enter their maintenance phase, that's when we really utilize the dietitians, and we have them go through what's basically a workbook for intuitive eating processes. But when we're getting ready for a weight loss plan and we're prioritizing the maintenance and building of lean tissue so we can focus the loss on fat only, then we're targeting a very high protein goal every day. And in our clinic, we're using the formula of 1 gram of protein per pound of lean mass every single day.
Okay. All right. So, Lisa.
Yes.
Being that you were in 3+ and you have gotten down to a reasonable amount of weight, how did you do it? I mean, we can hear your kids in the background, so it's fine. I saw you looking to the
So
side.
let me take a step back, Shay. I think this is something you and I have never discussed. I had weight loss surgery back in 2003.
Okay.
With that, I lost my initial weight but never learned maintenance. So I gained weight back,
Okay.
um, enough weight that it was substantial. So my first go around, I went from 335 pounds to 180, right? But I never got the maintenance part of it. So once I had the initial weight loss, I didn't understand the maintenance.
Okay.
Part of that maintenance was the psychology of
Mhm.
obesity and what got me there in the first place. So, with saying that, I had to go back and revisit what I did in the beginning and make adjustments on my own. I'm a researcher by nature. I read and want to know about everything that I'm doing. So I had to go back and say, how am I going to get this? Because I gained like 60 pounds of it back, like
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
probably more than that, because I went from 180 to 265.
Mhm.
So I had to get that additional weight off. But then I realized that it wasn't overnight. It didn't take overnight for me to get there. It wasn't going to take overnight for me to get it off. So I had to do slow, gradual changes. Those slow, gradual changes were me reading nutrition, understanding how to have a protein diet to remove bad carbs, to curtail my eating after a certain time. I even did something for myself. For many years, I was a soda drinker. If you get me to drink a soda now, it's a ginger ale, and my stomach is totally upset. But to come off a soda, I made a conscious effort for every 16, 20-ounce soda I drank, I had to drink that much in water.
Mhm.
Well, when you work all day, you're in the bathroom. If you're drinking that much soda, it was just easier to drink the water. The
Right.
other thing was to stop buying certain things and understand how to shop and stop certain triggers. So I have some physical ailments that are not related to obesity. I've had back surgery 3 times. So I had to learn to use walking as a mechanism to help my weight loss
Mhm.
until I was ready to be seen in the gym. Step for me. That
Mhm.
going into the gym was huge for me because everybody in the gym looks great and you feel like you're being judged. Again, the psychological of being obese, of being the fat girl, right? And so it was steps that I took within myself. It was that before I had weight loss surgery, 3 days before I was diagnosed as being diabetic.
Mhm.
But after weight loss surgery, I wasn't diabetic. So I my diabetes oh 04, I wasn't diagnosed as being diabetic again until 2020.
Mhm.
So I put it off for many years, the true onset of it. Um, I've been hypertensive since I've been in my 20s. So my doctor really feels like that has been hereditary for me. And when I say in my 20s, 2021, and then it really snowballed when I had my first child because I was had preeclampsia, so it went up. Learn how to eat and not put salt in my food. How not to this day I don't cook with salt. I can't. It's horrible for me to taste salt. So I learned herbs and seasonings and how to make my food taste better without piling on salt. I don't even have a salt shaker on my table. If you come to my house, you have to ask me for salt, right?
Mhm.
I may use salt to like clean my greens or leafy vegetables, but I don't use salt at all. I realized in reading and research, salt was in everything. Salt retains water in my body. If I do French fries, my ankle's gonna swell. So I don't do French fries. I mean, there are things that I learned about me to get back to this point. So it was trial and error. It was big trial and error for me.
So
Real
how do
big.
we get people to that point? How do
How
we
do
get
we
people to your point?
say that one more time, Shay?
How do we get people to that point to where you're at right now? Because it seemed like you
So as
transformed
most
yourself.
doctors were explaining,
You mentally transformed yourself. You did your research. You did your studying. What was the breaking point for you?
Honestly, the doctor that I've had for about 25 years, he was like, if you keep going down this road, you're going to be on so many medications, and the medications I have you on, I'm going to keep changing those medications because after a while, it's not going to work for the body. It was also as in that I was at a point where I might not live long enough to see, and you can call me crazy. I want to live long enough to see my grandchildren put my children through the heck that they put me through. I want to be that grandmother. See, I always, in raising my kids, I didn't have time to do the things that I do with my grandchildren, but I wanted to be that grandmother that crawled through the jungle gym with them. I want to be that grandmother that rides the rides. I want to be that grandma that I'm on the sideline cheering, standing up, jumping up and down. I don't want to be the grandmother in the wheelchair looking at it on video. I
Right.
want to be interactive, but I want to see my children go through the heck that they went through. So I had to do something to live long enough to see that. Like I want to be that grandmother that. So I'll give an example. Back in May, I took 5 grandkids to Disney. Yes, I was crazy. My grandkids go from age 13 to 18 months old. I took 5 little kids to Disney, and I rolled with them the whole time. Like, we in the park, we gonna stay in this park for my money from sun up to sundown, and I'm gonna walk this park. Now, was I tired? Yes, because I'm 59 years old. I should be tired. But Shay, I had to live long enough to be able to see them and to make sure that they were good, right?
That is what everyone needs. You need a mindset like Lisa.
Yes, yes.
You
I'm
know what
loving
I'm
hearing
saying?
you
I
talk.
want to see the world.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't travel when my kids were young, but now that I'm older, I can jump on a flight and go anywhere in the world. I want to see the world. We all know death is something that's going to come to all of us.
Absolutely.
I want to be late to the funeral. I want to be late. I want them to say she late, right?
Funeral,
Because
funeral.
I want to be late.
Too much,
I
Lisa.
don't want the world's of anything. I may have
Right.
shortchanged the world on some stuff. I may have gotten some extra stuff in, but I had to live long enough to do that, and I want to live long enough healthy to do that.
I appreciate
You know,
you.
I want to. That's where I am. That's what I want to be able to do.
I appreciate you. And I appreciate everything you just said. And I hope that our listeners are listening to everything that Lisa just said. I mean, it was better than any the three of us could have came up with. Okay. I mean, you're getting it right there from the public. And like I said, Lisa is speaking for the some of the public, but I mean, I made sure that I got a whippersnapper on our show. Okay. Not anybody that we can push over. All right. No, I cannot push her over at all. So we have a couple of awesome Lisas. I mean, they just love what you had to say. So we do have a question about protein shakes. I mean, does anybody recommend protein shakes? I mean, we had a person that was asking, do you recommend protein shakes?
Well, for me, once again, the protein is definitely important due to the fact of helping to build muscles.
Mhm.
So while we are talking, I do my protein shakes as well. So this was one that was recommended by a wonderful naturopathic physician that I worked in a naturopathic clinic at Hopkins, have one.
Mhm.
And I saw miracles. He worked with his patients with just a plant here, a leaf here, what have you, and some of his patients that were trying to lose weight. So one of them that I do recommend is this one, pure.
Mhm.
I didn't see it. Can you hold it up again? Okay, pure whey protein. Okay. All
Right,
right.
way. So
Thank
that's the
you.
thing is,
Okay.
can you see it? No.
Yes, thank you for posting that.
Yes, because this is what helped to get you the lean muscles that you use. So once again, as Dr. Lindsay was stating earlier, 1 gram of protein to per kilogram, correct?
Per pound of
Per
lean mass.
pound that you're supposed to have according to your weight.
Mhm.
So when I tell my patients about intermittent fasting, I do share about the protein shakes. Like I state, I do them myself. I'm also 50 in that 50 plus crowd as well. So trying to maintain my weight is always a problem. I'm only 5 foot flat. So going anything above 130, balancing me very well. Um, the pure protein is one of the protein shakes that is recommended by some of the best bariatric physicians in the world. So I always recommend that.
Okay. What about you, Dr. Lindsay? What do you recommend? I mean, because me, myself, I am going to speak. I do protein shakes. Of course, I am plant-based, so I do the non-dairy muscle milk protein shakes. And I only do those because I can grab and go. All right. With my lifestyle, I grab and go. But the majority of my protein shakes, I use this one called Chavas, Kavas, Kava. They're very good. And they're all plant-based. So they have a different taste, an acquired taste. So I have learned to adjust my taste buds based on what my body needs. So that's the one that I basically use. What about you, Dr. Van Dyke?
So I tell patients that there's a lot of ways to skin the cat, and there is evidence that supports that whey protein sources are the most useful, the highest yield. That being said, we get plenty of patients who they have an intolerance to whey or some allergy or something. And so for them, we do recommend Kachava as the first choice for a vegan option. There's Pure Protein and Premier Protein products are both excellent. They're very well balanced. When it comes to meal replacement status, they're not nutritionally robust enough to be considered a meal. They are a supplement, basically. The product that we use that is intended to be a meal replacement and is nutritionally very replete is by a company called Cornerstone Wellness. And what I like especially about this, it is a whey-based protein, but the texture is very creamy. There is no aftertaste. And the chocolate or the vanilla, even though they are flavored, they're very subtle. And so the shake can readily take on whatever it is that you're mixing in there and not be obtrusive. And I think that's a necessary thing to have when you're in a very focused weight loss mode and you may be relying on this tool extensively to help achieve that protein goal, because it's easy to get burned out on the same thing over and over and over again.
Yes, absolutely. So someone wanted to know, how does the Pure Protein taste? I think that was you, Aaliyah.
So what I also tell people, if the taste is not acquired to their little palate, they could add some strawberries, make it fun. You can throw some strawberries in there, blueberries, pineapples, whatever is your favorite fruit. You can throw in there. I know some people that sometimes even throw in spinach and kale into their protein shakes as well. So to make it fun and tasty, add in some of your favorite fruits.
Absolutely. I do want to say that Valerie Stewart posted, with protein shakes, is it true that you must exercise or you will gain weight? Now, I'm going to reflect back to what Dr. Van Dyke mentioned earlier about how they distribute protein shakes out. Okay. Now, you're only supposed to intake so many grams of protein per day. All right. Because when you intake, if you intake more than what the body requirements are, then the excess protein that you have, what is the body supposed to do with it? Store it as fat. It does not get used. I mean, you're not supposed to intake too much protein into the body for itself. Basically, like with me, prime example, because I'm almost like my words. I'm only supposed to intake about 43 grams of protein. All right. And I make sure that I don't take in any more than about 40 grams of protein. If I take in any more because I was eating so much protein, I was gaining weight. And I was wondering why was I gaining weight when I'm like, my diet mostly consisted of a lot of protein. Well, that's what it was. I was intaking too much protein and my body was starting to use whatever protein that I needed to use it for, but whatever else, it just stored it as fat. So when you're trying to figure out how much protein the body's supposed to take, there's so many things on Google. I mean, anybody have recommendations of how a person can know exactly how much protein they're supposed to take per day?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of why we do the body composition at every visit where we're doing a coaching session. We'll measure them, we'll watch for adjustments in the basal metabolic rate. There are online calculators that you could go fill out the numbers that can approximate kind of what's your basal metabolic rate. And if you were to exercise, light or medium or intense, it can adjust those recommendations for you. It doesn't matter what macronutrient you're taking in, whether it is carb or protein or fat. If you are breaking your metabolic need in terms of daily calories, you are going to store it as fat. And so hitting a protein goal is only one part of the equation. You have to stay within the parameters that your body has set for you in its makeup.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we go any further, ladies, I have a very special guest that we want to bring on. This is Chauncey Whitehead, Chauncey the trainer Whitehead. Chauncey is very well known in the Baltimore area. He is my trainer, your trainer. He is everybody's trainer here, okay? And he's not just a trainer, but he comes with a plethora of information that is really beneficial for everyone. So I'm going to bring him in. Chauncey, are you there?
Can you hear me, Shay?
We can hear you just fine, sir.
Well, good evening to your panel. And I just want to say that was an amazing introduction, Shay. I really like that. You had me wondering who was getting ready to come on. I didn't know who else was going to be here. But I just want to tell you guys that this is a very important conversation. And I wish more fitness professionals, personal trainers were able to sit on this podcast and hear the information given from the health and medical professionals, and especially Lisa's testimony. Because in my circles, in the fitness arena, personal trainers, when we talk about that word obesity, sometimes, a lot of times in the gym, personal trainers, they have their issues, or they may not want to be patient or actually work with obese clients. And I've had many clients that have weight issues that have told me, as Lisa was talking about, when they go into the gym and you might have that little uncomfortable feeling because people are fitting there. And sometimes the trainers or the fitness professionals are not willing to listen or be understanding that it's not a commercial. That, okay, you just run up this hill, you do this, and you're going to lose weight like they did on Biggest Loser, that it's a long-term effect. So I'm just happy that I'm on this call to listen to Dr. Van Dyke and Dr. Dixon and Lisa's testimony, and you, Shay, and anything that personal trainers, fitness professionals can do to help in this obesity issue we have in the nation. I'm willing to help.
Well, while we have you on, Chauncey, I mean, we have about maybe 17 minutes left, and I want to use this last 17, 15 minutes to talk about lifestyle changes. Okay. What are some of the lifestyle changes as a personal trainer that you would recommend for someone that is an unhealthy weight?
As Lisa said, once she was cleared from her medical doctor, is walking. Because, walking, it's free. It's also great, for socializing. You could be walking with someone. You could learn a lot of different things about them, a lot of different things about yourself, learn some things about shopping. I would say start with walking and then slowly integrate some weight-bearing exercises, and then find out what you like to do. If you like to bike, then maybe try to bring in some biking and things like that. But find something that you like and that you'll do on a consistent basis, at least 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay. And if they do live in the Baltimore area and they need a trainer, are you available?
You know, I'm always willing to help any and every single body. I'm available. I'm available. I'm like 24/7. I'm available.
So I just want to let the viewers know that Chauncey, he is on our website, the sbbfitforlife.org. If you are interested in Chauncey's services, I will put the website down at the bottom so everyone will know how to be able to get in contact with him. Just fill out the contact form, and we will definitely make sure that Chauncey, the trainer, um, will get that information from you. So Chauncey, thank you so much for popping your head, and we do appreciate you. We know that you get up at the crack of dawn because your clients come in 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we know that you are there.
But you know what, Shay? I'm going to stay on throughout because this has been a wonderful session. And just hearing all the information from Dr. Van Dyke and everyone on this call is just good for me as a personal trainer and a fitness professional. So I'm going to stay up a little late tonight and finish listening to you guys.
Well, we appreciate you appreciate you for that, sir. All right, thank you again, sir. We appreciate you.
Shay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So Dr. Dixon was talking about intermittent fasting,
Mm-hmm.
especially as I'm over 40, I'm over 50, almost 60 now. How does that play in with being diabetic? Because one of my biggest concerns with it is that if I don't eat within a certain time of medication, and my diabetes medication is once a week. I do Ozempic.
Right.
But even with that, if I don't eat within a certain time of day, I am not. I'm not. It's hard for me to describe the feeling because sometimes it's different. Um, it's like I'm jittery, like I'm having a low period, and then when I eat, I know I'm going to spike, and then I'm becoming a yo-yo status that I have to balance myself out. Like I have to figure out how to balance myself out.
Now,
But
I actually wanted Dr. Van Dyke to answer that question when Dr. Dixon mentioned that earlier, but that wasn't answered. Go ahead, Dr. Dixon, but I definitely want to hear your views as well on that one as well, Dr. Van Dyke.
Yes, definitely. So that's important because that's what I always keep stating, holistic approach. Treating one patient different from every other patient. You are individual. You might be a diabetic. You might not be a diabetic. You might have heart problems. You might not have heart problems. You might got to take boatload of medicines. You might don't. You might not be on medications at all. So that's where I tell my patients to come in with the protein shakes because it got that just that right amount, a little bit of sugar in it that will help to make sure those blood sugars don't drop and you get hypoglycemic in that time. So I don't have the vegan one, but I do have it in my refrigerator, but I don't want to stop what I'm doing and get it. But what I do is, and what I also advise other patients to do is take the whey protein and take that part of that vegan chocolate and put it in there together for the diabetics. And they say that jittery feeling you were speaking of, stop automatically. You can also change your windows. You don't have to do 18 hours of not eating and 6 hours of eating. You can change that window to whatever is great for your body. So some people do just 4 hours of eating and then 12 hours. Now, I can do that. Other people can do that are not diabetic or have to take medications. But I always say, the 18 to 6, or you can switch it up, like I say, and you can do 16 and then 8 hours of eating so that you won't go into a hypoglycemic episode.
Okay, good. Dr.
okay.
Van Dyke?
So hypoglycemia, I mean, that's what your symptoms really are. That's the classic description of hypoglycemia, feeling jittery and shaky, you may be sweaty, you might feel hungry, you might not, you might feel nauseous. You can also have that change, or beg pardon, those symptoms if the blood sugar is actually normal still, but the rate of descent is excessive. And it's that transition that kind of makes your autonomic nervous system begin to kick in. The nice thing about Ozempic and all of its relatives is that it works in a glucose dependent fashion. And so the risk of low sugar from that is exceedingly low. However, people have many other medications typically that they're on. And in the case of anybody who's had bariatric surgery, you have the malabsorptive condition also playing a role in how blood sugar is going to change. If patients have had a Roux-en-Y bypass gastric surgery, they also can have the phenomenon of dumping syndrome, which can produce a lot of these symptoms as well. And then the last thing that happens with bariatric patients is what we call non-diabetic hypoglycemia. And this has to do with the magnitude of insulin resistance that was in play prior to bariatric surgery can still present itself even under normal feeding conditions. And so you may end up having a larger than expected surge of insulin after taking in something that maybe is not balanced between carb and protein, and you'll have that exaggerated effect. And usually changing the dietary intake for roughly a goal of a 1-to-1 ratio between carb and protein tends to ameliorate that and improve those kinds of symptoms.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, so we are coming into our last 8 minutes of the podcast. Well, not the podcast, but our StreamYard. This has been a very, very, very exciting segment. Our first one, and it was exciting. I have to admit, I was very nervous, but it turned out really, really nice. A lot of good information, very great questions that everyone was asking. The panel, you guys were absolutely marvelous. I do want to put out a couple of reminders that this weekend we will be walking with the world's oldest living bodybuilder, Ernestine Shepherd, this Saturday at 7:30 at Druid Hill Park in Baltimore. We will be meeting at the tennis court and the basketball court. We will be also making awareness to prostate cancer. We will be having a segment on prostate cancer on the 28th of this month. Next week, we will be focusing on childhood obesity. So I'm asking that you share this link, you share this information that you have today, and chime in. You never know what life that you can save. This is our first segment on obesity, but if anyone knows me, you know that I will have another segment on obesity. Why? Because again, like I said before, we need to confront this. We need to take it on like at the head, and we just need to take care of it. We can't hide from it. We can't be offended from it. We just need to handle it like we handle any other chronic illness or disease, like diabetes, like high blood pressure, anything. We just have to deal with it. And we as healthcare professionals, we are here to help. But the only way we can help is that you guys have to talk to us. So again, we want to thank you, Lisa. We want to give you a big hand clap for coming out. Okay. Definitely appreciate you representing the public, because you definitely did a great job representing the public. We have the address here for the walk. Thank you so much, Juanita, for posting it. Guys, thank you so much for your questions. I just love every last one of you. We have people talking about the last bit of information that you were given. Excellent info. Dr. Van Dyke, thank you. Can you please tell people that if you wanted to share this, how they might be able to get in contact with you to where you might be able to help them to be able to accomplish their health and fitness goals? Well, not fitness, but mostly their health goals.
Well, actually, one of our coaches, we have a coach from a nursing background, and we have another coach whose background is exercise physiology. And we did that on purpose so that patients can have a variety of perspective as they're going through the process. And we're trying to figure out how we could offer maybe a weekend boot camp for our patients who are interested with that coach. And so that kind of stuff is in the works right now. Probably the best way to contact our clinic, which again is the Advanced Institute for Diabetes and Endocrinology, is at our website, which is aidendo.com. And I mean, for anybody who wants to call the main line, it's 817-380-4880.
Can you repeat that website one more time for me so I can type it in for you?
Yeah, it's aidendo.com.
And the telephone number?
817-380-4880.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for that. And Miss Aaliyah, if anyone wanted to be able, let me just get Dr. Van Dyke's stuff in here so I can just get that on the banner and have that scrolling so people can see that as well. How would someone be able to contact you?
They can contact me at www.rubieshealthcareservices.com. That's my website, and it has all of the information on there. Lisa was sharing about herbs and stuff. So a lot of stuff about herbs is on there, about the active compounds and the antioxidants, which help with weight loss and to substitute and give you the flavor that you need without that salt and all the stuff that they say to stay away from. So all of that is on the website.
I appreciate you, and we're going to show your website right now. Lisa, is there anything that you want to say right now? Because look, you just stole the show.
First, thank you for doing this and having this conversation, because it is a conversation that is put to the back burner. I would say to anyone who is, they don't have to be overweight, but work towards lifestyle change and having incorporating exercise or some form of physical activity, that it helps to keep the body functioning and flowing. You can be, for 1 second, you can be a perfect weight, but if you're not moving, exercising your body in some form, you're going to lose it, right?
Absolutely.
And that it is a lifestyle change, even if you are at a healthy weight, to not eliminate, but to do everything in moderation to keep from getting to the unhealthy weight. Like, pay attention to the signs of doing excessive that you see where you start to gain weight, and do something about it when you start it. Don't wait till you get to a point where you're huffing and puffing, and have open conversations with your healthcare professionals. I know you said earlier you only get 15 minutes. Well, I made it a point of, I double book my doctor. So I want 30 minutes, and now he gives me whatever I need, because you have to advocate for yourself. If you're heavy, don't let anybody tell you everything you feel is because you're heavy. We, as obese people, have valid concerns about our weight, and everything's not related to us being heavy. And even if it is, it still needs to be properly addressed. Be an advocate for yourself and do your research. Find out what works for you and what doesn't. Have those questions and talk to people. If you don't, how they say, a closed mouth don't get fed. Well, a closed mouth either.
Absolutely.
It really doesn't. So you have to advocate, whether you're at a healthy weight or unhealthy weight. Advocate, talk, make them break it down to you in layman's terms. Sometimes the doctor talks to us in such highly technical terms. We just say, Well, I don't say, Break that down to me. And if you can't, write that down, because I'm going to call it Shay Brown. I'm going to call it Chauncey. I'm going to call somebody to say, explain this to. Google is our best resource right now. You can Google and get a perspective on anything. But my biggest thing is advocate for you and make those lifestyle changes for yourself.
Absolutely. And again, I just wanted to say again that this was an absolute wonderful segment tonight. This is not going to be our last time talking about obesity. We did not touch on the psychological aspects of obesity, and that is a segment that I do plan on having next month. I'm going to have a line of people, and I'm really excited about this. I feel that this is the way that very religious that God wants me to try and help out the public as much as we can. Again, I'm sorry that we are only obligated or we only have a certain amount of time with patients, but through social media, maybe we can get more of you people like Lisa, to be able to come in and chime and ask those questions. And, like we're popping those questions up here. I mean, we're here for you. And if we don't know, trust me, we will tell you that we do not know, that we will not give you false information. I love to talk, but I love for my panel to talk as well. So we are here for you. So we will be doing this every Wednesday. And if there's a person on the panel that you would like for me to bring back, I will definitely hunt them back down. Again, I have their numbers, I have emails, I have everything, websites. I will hunt them back down for you guys, okay? Because they definitely gave very good information. And I just want to tell you thank you from the bottom, no, the top of my heart. This was greatly appreciated. We did our job. So thank you. Any other questions? Everybody is so grateful for all the information. I'm trying to post everything they're putting up here. Amazing job, guys. Thank you so much. Do not get off, but I will end the broadcast. So thank you again, and everybody have a restful night. God bless.
Good night.